Homelander, the ultimate perversion of false heroism. While branding himself as America's greatest hero, in reality he's a lab experiment off his rocker, abusing his own power both physically and socially, and dead set on becoming king of the world. He's almost the perfect opponent for Garou the Hero Hunter, a man who sees himself a monster, tasking himself to take down the corrupt hero world and establish true equality. It stands to reason that if he lived in the Boys universe, Garou would hate Homelander, and the two would eventually come to blows. So, what would happen if these two actually had to duke it out? So this is a topic that, admittedly, I have tackled before. However, we have learned a lot more about Homelander's scaling since then, and with Garou's story getting expanded upon in One Punch Man Season 3. I wanted to revisit the topic for some time, so if you guys like One Punch Man or the Boys content, then subscribe. I've got a ton of videos on both series and plan to make a lot more. And with that in mind, let's get started. So for Garou, it goes without saying that we won't be using Cosmic Mode Garou. Don't think I need to explain why the guy who punches away galaxies is beating Homelander. We'll start with the weakest versions of Garou and see if Homelander can even beat him, then work our way up until he's strong enough to beat Homelander. Even during his time at the start of the series, Garou was an absolute beast who could beat multiple S-Class heroes such as Tanktop Master and Metal Bat. Garou would also put up a good fight against Genos while basically having Itachi level nerfs, with Genos making every effort to game over Garou. Genos much earlier in the series was able to contend with Deep Sea King, breaking his tooth with one punch. Sea King in a weakened form was able to easily overwhelm Prairie Prisoner at max power, denoted by him having all his clothes blown off by his bursting muscles. This is notable since Prairie Prisoner, when fully clothed, impressed Sonic more than Hammerhead, when Prairie Prisoner's hand-knitted sweater gets ripped apart just going half strength. This means Prisoner at full power would have to be more than twice the strength of Hammerhead, and he's weaker than the Sea King, who's weaker than Genos, who gets a billion upgrades, who then struggles to defeat Garou. Hammerhead has good feats, such as launching giant pieces of rubble and destroying skyscrapers with individual punches, both of which are multi-city block level feats, which Garou would scale over by multiple tiers. Genos also boasts a number of impressive feats early in the series as well, with his incineration cannons, many of which reaching dozens to hundreds of kilotons of TNT, which is more or less rivaling your average nuclear bomb, or town to large town level. Garou not only fights Genos, but also Metal Bat. Metal Bat has to fight the monster Carnage Kabuto and holds his own for 3 minutes. A monster so strong he can cancel out Genos' incineration cannon with his breath. Genos also withstands this redirected incineration cannon with nearly no damage whatsoever, so any character that can do significant damage to Genos, such as Garou, should scale to these feats as well. Metal Bat would scale far above this for contending with Carnage Kabuto in his base form, and then receives many amps on top of this due to his trademark fighting spirit. Garou was capable of damaging this amped Metal Bat, and when using his martial arts prowess, can briefly knock him out. This means Garou would massively outscale Genos' early feats of destruction, firmly placing him in the large town range of power at the very least. This is also consistent with the feats performed by another powerful martial artist by the name of Suiryu, who considered Garou a strong opponent he was interested in fighting against. Suiryu could catch a ball of light from Chose and throw it into the air with the blast splitting the clouds, the feat also being calculated to town level. In terms of speed, Garou was consistently within the relativistic to speed of light range. Genos, who, as I've said many times, Garou fought while heavily nerfed, could react to and dodge lasers shot from a robot called G4. Not only does Genos dodge these lasers, but G4 blasts him with huge amounts of these lasers, meaning Genos would likely be maneuvering around multiple of these light beams at once. This is very consistent with other scaling, such as lower ranked A-Class heroes, Lightning Max and Lightning Genji, to have lightning speed attacks in the data books, and a demon level monster named Awakened Cockroach stated to be able to react to light speed attacks with his special ability to read killing intent. Not only is Garou considered a threat level dragon at this point and should be able to at least combat Awakened Cockroach narratively speaking, but he possesses the same ability to read killing intent on top of that, and likely uses it in tandem with his martial arts reading abilities. If you are skeptical of the lightspeed scaling, Garou could still react to and dodge Genos' incineration cannon at very close range, which has been calculated to being 155 times the speed of sound. He should also be much faster than the swordsman hero Ian, who was able able to slice through multiple bullets at over 42 times the speed of sound, as the Iron and Spring Mustachio are somewhat relative and Garou was able to avoid his assault, with him only getting cornered due to the terrain. Garou is also a master martial artist of multiple disciplines, although he mainly focuses on the Water Stream Rock Smashing Fist, which is hailed as the ultimate defensive martial art. Garou uses these skills to great effect against both Tanktop Master and Metal Bat, capable of abusing their weaknesses even though they are much stronger than he is physically. He's able to use the Water Stream to redirect his opponent's force back at them, and can adapt to their fighting style, boosting his own prowess at the same time. This is described by Garou himself many times and said in the databooks, with it being shown explicitly when Garou completely predicts Tanktop Master and knocks him out without even looking at him, despite the hero otherwise being a more difficult fight. He can also sense murderous intent, fight at near full power despite heavy injuries, and fight in total darkness. Now the question remains, can Homelander even contend with this very early and weakest version of Garou? Well, Homelander's strength has been a complicated topic over the years as The Boys has had its run. He's a particularly challenging character to scale due to the fact that most fights in The Boys are very small scale and down to earth. The most destruction that occurs maybe being some walls broken down. However, between the main series, the spin-off Gen V, and The Boys Diabolical, and many other secondary sources, we've been able to glean more information than ever about how strong Homelander actually is. For starters, Homelander and the majority of supes in general are considered far greater than normal military weapons, basically everything outside of nuclear bombs. Stillwell describes to Dakota Bob that once Compound V was spread around the world, weapons such as the Abrams tank and Tomahawk missiles became useless. Congress in turn began debating whether or not to consider supes as weapons of mass destruction, which typically includes nuclear or chemical weapons which cause a great deal of damage to people in their surroundings. This being supported by Stillwell's reference to Homelander being so powerful that they threw every weapon they had at him and none of them worked. While this particular statement has been memed to death, including by myself, it may have a bit more basis than we thought. During Gen V Season 2, Stan Edgar implies that Homelander possesses the power of a neutron bomb, with such bombs having a yield of around 1 kiloton or multi-city block level. In The Boys Diabolical, an animated series with a few canonical episodes, Homelander withstands the explosion of a chemical plant which has been calculated to 3 to 81 kilotons of TNT, or roughly town level. Also in The Boys Diabolical, a random supe by the name of Nubia can generate large thunderstorms on accident, with the generation of these storms and lightning bolts requiring a comparable amount of energy as the aforementioned explosion. Nubia nor her ally Nubian Prince are even members of the Seven, let alone Homelander, who was outright stated multiple times to be the strongest supe in the world. During Season 3, Butcher discovers that the Russians used a weapon to defeat Soldier Boy, a hero who was almost as strong as Homelander. He concludes that the only thing that could have done it would be the hydrogen bomb. And this is noteworthy as H-bombs are the stronger of the two common types of nuclear weapons, with the alternative being atomic bombs or fission bombs. Butcher being someone immersed heavily in supes, their weaknesses and how to defeat them, likely being aware of this alongside his own database as a member of the CIA. Even a normal person like you or I can find this information with a quick Google search, so I would be surprised if Butcher didn't at least consider it and do a little research. I mean, bro is cool with just wiping out all supes to defeat Homelander. Let's be real, it's not outside his pay grade to at least think about it. Hydrogen bombs do have a range regarding how powerful they are, but the atom bombs, which Butcher implies wouldn't work on Homelander, can reach as high as 700 kilotons of TNT or large town level. All this does is kind of paint a picture that consistently Homelander can withstand some nuclear bombs outside of the really top tier ones, and Stillwell may not have been gassing him up too much. I don't think that when Stillwell said that, she literally meant every single weapon, but you know, just a more vague and general, he can take a big boom, and they probably have tested some nuclear bombs on him, not necessarily the strongest ones. For speed, Homelander shows many times he can fly at supersonic speeds, with him at one point saving Billy Butcher from a C4 explosive without getting scratched. This would require speeds of 10 to 18 times the speed of sound. There's an argument that Homelander should be able to react to light speed due to the fact that his heat vision and starlight beams have been called lasers or light multiple times. Soldier Boy is able to react to such attacks even though he isn't exactly as fast as the beams, he could pull up his shield to block them, and Homelander is considered superior to him and outmatched him in a 2-on-1 fight. Does this mean Homelander is capable of reacting to light speed attacks? I am somewhat skeptical of this for a few reasons. During the season 1 finale, Starlight and A-Train fight each other and we get a direct comparison between Starlight's lasers and A-Train's speed. When A-Train starts to run, time slows down and Starlight's beams start moving faster than A-Train can run, however only by a small amount. A-Train earlier in the season was able to run at speeds just barely faster than sound, and I'm not saying that her beams are necessarily just the speed of sound, or a little faster, but just putting into doubt the validity of the light speed claim, as it's clear the speeds of the characters here are somewhat inconsistent. The vast majority of feats performed by both A-Train and Homelander are more within that speed of sound range, with the feat mentioned earlier of Homelander escaping a close-range explosion being more of a severe outlier than anything. It's still possible to scale Homelander to near light speeds, however, unlikely. I will still discuss it to see how the fight would go if you grant him those arguments. Of course, Homelander has the generic Superman clone powers of heat vision, enhanced senses, flight, x-ray vision, and so on. He's generally immune to many poisons and hacks abilities, however that won't play too much of an effect against Garou, who mainly just punches and kicks. With their stats and abilities broken down, I think this is a pretty interesting discussion. Both characters have consistent feats and scaling, putting them comfortably into the large town level range or comparable to high to mid-end atomic bombs. They should generally punch as hard as one another, and that also means they can likely endure most of their attacks and damage each other over time, meaning this won't just be a quick one-shot GG. Speed, however, shows a clear advantage for Garou, who has more consistent light speed scaling. Even the low-balled feats of Garou dodging Genos blast easily come in almost 10 times faster than Homelander's best reputable feat. Garou would completely outspeed Homelander at every turn, and since they both have similar power and speed is the only difference, he should stomp fairly easily. The only way this gets interesting is if you give Homelander his very contentious light speed scaling, but even then, Garou should be at least a little bit faster. The reason I say this is, while Homelander should be capable of at least barely reacting to light speed attacks, it doesn't compare to Genos, who dodged getting barraged by tons of lasers at the same time. Genos then undergoes no less than 2 upgrades before fighting Garou after this, and Garou should comfortably scale better to light speed than Homelander does. Regardless, this certainly closes the gap and puts them in a similar tier, with both of them being large town level and relative to the speed of light. This makes the fight more about their individual abilities rather than raw power or speed. Homelander's ability to fly gives him a huge advantage in terms of maneuverability, allows him to attack Garou from outside normal hand-to-hand combat range. The problem is that Homelander rarely, if ever, uses his heat vision effectively, and even when he does, it's to very minimal effect. During his initial fight with Soldier Boy, Homelander opts to blitz him with his flight speed and attempt to fire off a close-range heat vision, implying he didn't think he'd do too much from a distance. This is supported as when Billy Butcher hits an on-guard Soldier Boy with his own heat vision, which is relative to Homelander's, it only leaves a cut on Soldier Boy's face. When Butcher hits Homelander from a longer distance, it does knock him over, but doesn't do any damage and he basically gets right back up. Once again, when Homelander hits Queen Maeve from only a few feet away, she is able to take almost no damage and blocks it with her gauntlets, despite Maeve being blatantly weaker than Homelander's physicals. This is all to say that Homelander's heat vision really isn't that effective, especially outside of close combat range, let alone at the farther ranges Homelander would need to fly at to prevent Garou from reaching him. There's also the more obvious weakness that as Homelander gets farther away, Garou has more time to physically react to lasers, with Garou boasting the ability to sense killing intent and the fact that Homelander's eyes clearly light up whenever he charges his lasers. It's far more likely that Homelander would just try to close the distance, grapple Garou, and use heat vision then, or just engage in close combat. At that point, I don't even think I need to explain to the One Punch Man fans. Garou is a martial arts master, with his techniques specifically being made to take down other humans such as Homelander, and turning their own strength against them. In a hand-to-hand exchange, he targets Homelander's weak points with either the Water Stream Rock Smashing Fist or any of the other disciplines he's learned, since Homelander has seemingly no hand-to-hand training. Garou's innate talent also means as the two trade hands, he's only going to learn more about Homelander's very simplistic fighting style, picking up on his weaknesses to make it a far quicker GG. The only thing Homelander could do at that point is to try to fly outside of Garou's range to either just run away, or once again try lasering him from far away, which isn't very effective. Garou, however, would probably know from fighting Homelander that he might try flying away and employ grappling to simply pin Homelander rather than outright punching him. And Garou does know at least a bit of grappling and submission holds, as shown when much later, and minor spoilers I guess, when he fights Saitama. And seeing as Garou never fought someone that uses grappling against him after he starts transforming, it's very likely he learned this either from one of the over 100 heroes he defeated, or from one of the countless dojos he crushed, or was just taught by Bang, who also knows grappling. If that explanation is a little too vague and not to your liking, Garou could probably just try giving Homelander a concussion to debilitate him, and just try to stop him from flying away. Garou was skilled in more than just hand-to-hand combat, but his general fight sense and tactical thinking is very high, with him utilizing the terrain or small objects like rocks to incapacitate or distract heroes. He's also no stranger to psychological warfare, as shown when he goaded Stinger into a 1v1 so that he could catch the other heroes off guard. If Homelander ever did try flying away, Garou would probably just start trash talking or just flip him off, and whether on purpose or on accident, this would damage Homelander's insanely big ego and draw him back into close combat again. He should also be much stronger than the likes of Hammerhead as well, like I said, and could launch giant boulders or trees like he did against Bang and Bomb. Basically what I'm getting at, the only way Homelander could win is if he gets in close quarters, and from there, Garou just has an answer to everything Homelander can do, and him clearly being a far better hand-to-hand fighter. The best case for Homelander is a tactical retreat, assuming this fight is in an open space he could escape in and not some inescapable Super Smash Bros. Stage or something, with the more likely conclusion being Garou is just the worst possible matchup for Homelander. Remember that Maeve employing some basic martial arts was able to outbox Homelander multiple times, avoiding his attacks and landing damaging blows, while Garou is a super prodigy, trained by the martial arts god of his universe with skills that basically give him superpowers. Garou wins, hands down.